My heart's beating rhythm, and my soul keeps singing the blues. Roll over Beethoven and tell Tchaikovsky the news.
He looked to the left, and there, on the left side of the river delta, it appeared like the Styx or Vaitarani River with the sinners on their way from the judgment to hell. Austere but fair Yama, an Indian god of death, with two four-eyed dogs, was guarding the beetle's hell. With a sideways glance, Widlowski noticed someone familiar and turned back in the direction of the beetle's hell. He cringed at the sight of Harihara, a double-faced Vedic deity, who glared at Widlowski. The right side of Harihara had an ascetic ash-pale color, was clad in tiger skin, and his two right hands held a trident and an axe, bent on destruction and cutting ties to the universe. A half of a third eye was visible on the right side of his forehead. The left side of Harihara wore a tall crown showing his supreme authority. In his upper left hand, he held a wheel, while the lower left hand held a shell. The two sides seemed to be in competition for the ascetic and authoritative power. Both his faces were etched into the familiar, hateful face of Haritonov, who grinned and lorded over an industrial wasteland. There, deep in the heart of the mechanical inferno, he could see him, that familiar face, twisted in agony. Druk sat, strapped to a chair, as two faces of Harihara cross-examined him, running long talons against Druk's arms, drawing blood. Trying to hide from Harihara, Widlowski descended into the river and swam forward, struggling to reach his friend, only to stop cold when Harihara's laughing, maniacal faces turned back and pinned Widlowski with a glare, paralyzing him in the river. Harihara looked at Widlowski, unafraid and domineering. Harihara snapped his fingers, and Widlowski cried out in surprise as the river began to drain, pulling him into a grayish, dull limbo. He clutched at his face and body, feeling himself age rapidly as everything around him grew duller and shapeless. He wanted to scream out as his eyes sank back into the skull, liquefying into nothing. He clawed at his throat as his hair thinned out and his chest grew hollow, but he couldn't move any more than that. Widlowski wanted to scream out as he faded into nothingness, but nothing came out. Widlowski looked up, wide-eyed and surprised, as Abby's lips pressed deeply into his, and her hands pressed firmly into his chest. His first thought was she was kissing him, but after a moment he realized that she was giving him CPR. He lurched forward, vomiting up the water he had swallowed, and clutched her arms in a surprisingly strong grip. Abby stared at him while he took in deep, heaving, desperate gulps of air. Abby was kneeling over him, her clothes and hair wet as well.
Holy shit! Holy shit! Are you... I heard the splash and Oh...
For a moment it looked like Abby might cry. Instead, she began to beat Widlowski with her fists.
What is wrong with you? Are you out of your mind?
He started to laugh. She tried to hit him again, but he caught her wrists.
It's not funny!
I feel, well, I don't know how I feel. Better. You were right.
Of course I was! About what?
I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I cannot do nothing. I'm so goddamn tired of doing nothing.
Widlowski climbed to his feet, steadying himself against Abby.
Whoa there! Take it easy!
Come on, let's go back upstairs.
Why? So you can throw yourself out the window again?
No, so I can pack.
He turned back and led her into his building, feeling her curious gaze on his back the entire way.